Each day when we wake up, we are faced with a decision. That decision is whether we will surrender to the burdens of life or rise to meet them with a courageous heart. Happiness may seem like an impossible goal when you are overwhelmed by pain, stress, or uncertainty. Yet, even in those difficult moments, we have more power than we realize. We hold within us the ability to choose our inner state. That choice is not easy, but it is always available. It begins with awareness and ends with transformation. Most people wait for happiness to arrive like a letter in the mail. They expect external events to change before they give themselves permission to feel good inside. But happiness is not something that arrives from the outside. It is created within us by the way we perceive the world and the thoughts we allow to occupy our minds. Even when life is chaotic, even when loss, grief, or failure appear at your door, you still have the ability to decide how to relate to those experiences. That decision is where your true freedom lies. The path to happiness starts not when everything is perfect, but when you begin to choose peace despite imperfection. It is a quiet decision made in the privacy of your own heart. You can begin by taking a single breath and noticing that in this moment you are alive. And if you are alive, then there is still hope. There is still potential. That breath reminds you that every second offers a fresh beginning. You are not bound by what happened yesterday. It takes great strength to push yourself toward joy when everything around you seems to be falling apart. But the strength required is not physical. It is mental and emotional strength born from the awareness that you are not your circumstances. You are not your job, you are not your pain, you are the observer of it all, and as the observer, you have the power to shift your attention towards something more empowering. When you begin to shift your attention, you open the door to healing. You start to notice small blessings, the sun shining through your window, a kind word from a stranger, a deep breath that reminds you of your resilience. Each small moment of joy begins to build upon the last until you have created a new foundation. This foundation is not made of perfection or control. It is made of presence and willingness. It is made of the conscious choice to feel alive and grateful despite the challenges. Choosing happiness every day does not mean denying pain. It means not allowing pain to define the entirety of your experience. It means recognizing that happiness and sorrow can coexist. You can be healing and hopeful at the same time. You can be tired and still trust in your strength. When you make space for all of your emotions without judgment, you are honoring your humanity. That honor creates peace. That peace becomes joy. There will be days when choosing happiness feels like lifting a mountain. On those days, it is enough to simply choose a kind thought. It is enough to rest without guilt. It is enough to speak gently to yourself and remind yourself that this moment will pass. You are not weak for struggling. You are strong for continuing to choose, even when your voice shakes, even when your heart is heavy. That small choice is a revolution. As Deepak Chopra reminds us, happiness is not something we chase. It is something we awaken. You awaken it by remembering who you truly are beyond the stress and pressure of life. You are a soul. You are energy. You are consciousness having a human experience. When you connect with that truth, you start to care less about what you cannot control and more about the peace you can cultivate. That shift is where empowerment lies. You do not need to wait for life to give you a reason to be happy. You can give yourself that reason. You can decide that your joy is sacred and worth fighting for. You can look at your reflection in the mirror and choose compassion instead of criticism. You can take one step toward growth every day. You can set an intention each morning to see the good. That decision will shape your reality in ways you cannot imagine. Our minds are powerful creators. The thoughts you feed become the beliefs you live by. If you repeat to yourself that life is always hard, that nothing will change, that joy is for other people, you will build walls around your own heart. But if you begin to whisper new words to yourself, if you begin to say, I am willing to find joy today, even if it is small, even if it is quiet, then you start to dissolve those walls. You create space for light to enter. In this world of constant noise and distraction, returning to yourself is the most powerful thing you can do. You do not need approval from anyone else to be happy. You do not need more money or more success or more recognition. What you truly need is to be connected to yourself, to trust yourself, to know that happiness is not a destination but a direction you choose over and over with love and courage. Sometimes people will misunderstand your joy. They will think you are ignoring reality, but your joy is not ignorance. It is wisdom. It is the wisdom to know that pain is not all there is, that within you is a light that cannot be dimmed. You are allowed to feel good even when things are hard. You are allowed to smile even when you are healing. Your happiness does not mean you are not aware. It means you are brave enough to believe in something more. Push yourself gently. Do not force happiness. Invite it with your breath. Invite it with your thoughts. Invite it with your intentions. Allow happiness to come in as you would allow a friend to sit beside you. You do not need to pretend to be strong all the time. You do not need to fix everything before you feel peace. You only need to be open to joy, open to the present, open to life. Every act of kindness you offer yourself is a step toward happiness. Every moment you forgive yourself for not being perfect, you reclaim your power. Every time you pause to breathe instead of react, you strengthen your peace. These are the quiet victories. These are the invisible wins that build your spirit. They may not be loud, but they are lasting. They create a life built on awareness instead of fear. Let today be the day you no longer postpone your happiness. Let today be the day you say, I choose joy because I deserve it. Not because everything is easy, but because I am worthy of peace. Let every breath remind you that you are capable of rising above, that you are allowed to feel good, that you are a creator of your experience. And in that creation, happiness is no longer something distant. It becomes your truth. Even in pain, you can reach for the smallest seed of gratitude. Even in darkness, you can light a candle of presence. That is what it means to push yourself to be happy every day. It is not pretending. It is remembering. It is remembering that your spirit is stronger than your struggle, that your joy is your birthright, and that no matter how heavy the world becomes, you still have the power to choose how you live within it. So breathe deeply. Let this moment be enough. Let your intention be soft but strong. You do not need to fix the entire world to feel peace inside yourself. Begin where you are. Choose one kind thought. Choose one hopeful word, and trust that happiness, even when small, is a beginning that will carry you forward. Let it carry you now. So many people search for happiness outside of themselves. They believe it will come when they achieve more, have more, or finally fix what they think is broken. But happiness is not something you find out there. It is something you discover by looking inward. The deeper you go into yourself, the more peace you uncover. True joy begins when you step away from noise and return to the quiet truth within you. That truth is only found through self-awareness. Self-awareness is the light that reveals what you are truly feeling and why. It is the courage to look at yourself without judgment. It is the decision to meet your emotions with curiosity instead of fear. When you understand your patterns and reactions, you gain the power to shift them. And when you shift them, you unlock the freedom to choose differently. Many of us live unconsciously. We repeat the same thoughts every day. We react the same way to stress. We carry old pain that colors how we see the world. But once you start observing yourself, you break the cycle. You begin to see the space between what happens and how you respond. That space is your power. That space is where joy can enter. Self-awareness allows you to realize that you are not your emotions. You are the witness to those emotions. Sadness may visit you, but it is not who you are. Fear may arise, but it does not control your destiny. You can sit with discomfort without being destroyed by it. You can listen to pain without letting it speak for your entire life. That awareness creates a deep peace that no one can take away from you. With practice, you learn to meet yourself with compassion. Instead of criticizing yourself for feeling low, you comfort yourself like you would a friend. You stop fighting your feelings and start listening to them. That listening is not weakness, it is strength. It shows you the root of your suffering so you can heal it, not just cover it. Healing cannot happen without awareness. When you make time for reflection, you make room for joy. You begin to notice the patterns that keep you stuck. Maybe you compare yourself constantly. Maybe you say yes when you mean no. Maybe you avoid stillness because you are afraid of what will rise in the silence. But when you become aware, you stop running. You turn toward yourself, and in that turning, something powerful begins to shift. You may uncover old wounds, pain from childhood, moments where you felt unseen or unloved, experiences that shaped how you see yourself today. This is not easy, but facing those wounds with love brings deep transformation. It is not the pain that blocks your happiness, it is the refusal to feel it. Once you bring it into the light, it begins to soften. Deepak Chopra teaches that self-awareness is the foundation of spiritual growth. It is the bridge between suffering and freedom. When you are aware, you can notice the voice in your head and decide not to follow it. You can choose thoughts that lift you instead of pull you down. You begin to act from love instead of fear. That shift transforms your life. You do not need to fix all your flaws to be happy. You only need to be honest with yourself. When you stop hiding from your truth, you begin to feel lighter. You accept your humanness. You see that you are both light and shadow, strength and softness, joy and grief. That wholeness is beautiful. That honesty is freedom. You can become the observer of your own life. You can step back and ask, why am I really upset right now? What story am I telling myself? Is this feeling from today, or is it something older? Those questions open doors. They invite clarity. They give you the power to respond with wisdom instead of reaction. Self-awareness teaches you to stop blaming the outside world for your inner state. It is not what others do that hurts you most. It is what you believe about yourself in response. When you are aware, you start to heal those beliefs. You begin to say, I am enough even when I am not perfect. You begin to love yourself through the mess. That love is what brings joy. Meditation is a powerful tool for awakening self-awareness. In silence, you learn to listen, not to the noise of the world, but to the still voice inside. That voice is calm. It is wise. It reminds you of your worth. It helps you remember that beneath your roles and responsibilities, you are a soul that is always whole and free. As you connect with your inner self, you begin to care less about the opinions of others. You no longer need to chase validation. You stop comparing your journey to someone else's. You begin to walk your own path with trust. That self-trust brings peace. That peace becomes your happiness. Not because life is easy, but because you know who you are. When you are self-aware, you take responsibility for your energy. You stop waiting for others to change so you can feel better. You stop blaming your past for your current pain. You recognize that you have the ability to heal. That recognition is power. it opens you to growth, and growth leads to joy that cannot be shaken. There will still be hard days, but instead of drowning in them, you will know how to support yourself. You will speak gently to your heart. You will understand your triggers. You will choose to pause and breathe instead of react. That pause is a gift. It is a doorway to peace. It is where transformation begins. Joy comes from knowing you are not lost. Even when life is confusing, you are not disconnected from yourself. That connection is your anchor. It reminds you that you can survive the storm, that you can hold yourself through pain, that you can feel deeply without falling apart. That ability gives you a deep sense of peace. You may not always feel strong, you may not always have clarity, but when you are aware, you know that feelings pass. That storms end, that growth is happening even when you cannot see it. You stop panicking in discomfort. You start trusting the process. That trust is what allows happiness to grow quietly in the background. Your journey is not about becoming someone else. It is about returning to who you already are, beneath the fear, beneath the doubt, beneath the need to prove yourself. You are already enough. You are already complete. Awareness helps you see that. It helps you stop chasing and start receiving. You begin to understand what truly matters to you, not what the world told you to want, but what your soul longs for: connection. Purpose, stillness, authenticity, these are the roots of lasting happiness. They are found not by looking outward, but by turning inward with openness and courage. It is okay to feel lost sometimes. It is okay to not have all the answers. But when you are aware, you know how to sit with uncertainty without fear. You know how to hold space for all that you feel. You know how to keep your heart open even in confusion. That openness leads to peace. And peace is the soil where joy grows. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to be real, to feel, to learn, to love, to awaken. That awakening is not a destination. It is a daily practice, a practice of choosing awareness over avoidance. Compassion over criticism, presence over distraction. That practice becomes your power. When you understand yourself, you stop needing to escape yourself. You no longer fear your thoughts or your emotions. You know how to hold them, to witness them, to move through them with grace. That inner mastery creates confidence, a quiet confidence that says, I can handle this. I will not abandon myself. Each time you return to your breath, you return to the truth that you are not broken, that you are not alone, that you are more than your circumstances. You are a conscious being capable of great love and great strength. That truth does not change. Even when life feels unstable, that truth holds steady. So take time each day to sit with yourself, to ask, how am I feeling? What do I need? What thoughts am I believing right now? Those simple questions bring you back home. They remind you that you are here, that you matter, that your inner world deserves just as much attention as the outer world. In the end, it is not what happens to you that defines your joy. It is how deeply you know yourself through it all. That depth becomes your strength. That strength becomes your peace, and that peace becomes your happiness, even in the hardest times, even when everything else falls away. Let awareness be your daily guide. Let it walk with you through fear and uncertainty. Let it teach you how to return to your center. In that return, you will find what you were always looking for, the joy that comes not from outside, but from within. A joy that is steady, grounded, and always waiting for you to come home. When life becomes overwhelming and heavy, it is not willpower alone that carries you through. It is your spiritual practice that gives you the strength to stand when everything around you urges you to fall. Resilience is not built through resistance, but through surrender to something deeper than the circumstances. It is built through consistency, through rituals that connect you to your soul, and through faith in a greater purpose. You may not always control the chaos around you, but you can choose the peace within. That peace begins to grow when you give your spirit the nourishment it needs. A spiritual practice is not about perfection. It is about presence. It is about choosing to show up for yourself each day, even when you feel tired or broken. It is the quiet moments you create when you turn inward, when you close your eyes and return to your breath. In those moments you remember that you are not alone, you are held, you are guided, you are connected to something far greater than your fear. There will be days when the world feels like too much, days when your mind runs in circles and your heart feels too heavy to carry. But when you have a spiritual practice, you have a safe space to return to. It becomes a sanctuary in your own heart, a place where you can breathe again, a space where you can release the burden and simply be. This is how resilience is built, not in the absence of struggle, but in the strength to return to yourself again and again. Spiritual practice is deeply personal. For some, it is meditation. For others, it is prayer, journaling, or spending time in nature. It is not the form that matters, but the intention behind it. It is the commitment to come home to yourself daily, to reconnect with what is real and lasting inside of you. That reconnection anchors you when the outside world feels unstable. You do not need to be spiritual in the traditional sense. You only need to be willing to listen to your inner voice, to trust that your soul knows the way forward even when your mind is confused. Each time you choose stillness over panic, you are building resilience. Each time you choose compassion over judgment, you are growing stronger. That strength is not loud. It is quiet, steady, and unshakable. When challenges arise, your spiritual practice becomes your compass. It helps you respond instead of react. It helps you see the lesson within the hardship. You begin to understand that pain is not punishment. It is a call to go deeper, to uncover what you have forgotten about yourself. To rise not in resistance, but in remembrance. You remember that within you is everything you need to move forward. Resilience is not about pretending you are fine. It is about honoring your emotions while not allowing them to control you. It is about creating space for grief and hope to exist side by side. Your practice teaches you to hold both, to sit with discomfort without running from it, to breathe through the storm and trust that the sun will return. Because it always does. Spiritual growth does not happen overnight. It is a slow unfolding, a gentle peeling back of layers until you come face to face with your truest self. That self is not afraid. That self is not broken. That self is whole, radiant, and filled with wisdom. Every time you sit in silence, you meet that version of yourself again, and you begin to trust in her more and more. It is easy to feel strong when life is easy. But true resilience is proven in the hard times, when you choose faith over fear, when you show up to your practice even when your heart is aching, when you whisper to yourself, "I will not give up." That whisper becomes a roar. It becomes the force that carries you through the darkest nights into the light of a new day. Spiritual practice teaches you that your worth is not defined by your productivity, that you do not need to be constantly doing to be valuable. You are valuable simply because you exist, because you breathe, because you love. Your practice reminds you of this truth again and again. It becomes a mirror that reflects back your beauty when you forget it. In a world that glorifies speed and noise, your practice is an act of rebellion. It says, "I choose stillness. I choose presence. I choose to listen to the wisdom of my soul." That choice changes everything. It slows down the racing mind. It softens the hardened heart. It brings you back to what truly matters. There may be moments when your practice feels empty, when you sit in silence and hear nothing, when you pray and feel no answer. But even in those moments, something sacred is happening. You are learning to sit with yourself. You are building trust in the silence. You are proving to yourself that you will not abandon your soul just because it feels quiet. Resilience grows each time you choose love over fear, each time you choose to forgive instead of hold a grudge, each time you soften your own heart and meet yourself with kindness. That kind of strength cannot be taken away. It lives in your spirit. It shows up in your actions. It touches the lives of everyone around you. When you invest in your spiritual well-being, you begin to see life differently. You see challenges as teachers. You see people with more compassion. You begin to appreciate the simple things, the way the morning light hits the wall, the way your breath feels in your chest. These small moments become sacred. They remind you that joy is found not in perfection, but in presence. You may be going through something right now that feels unbearable, a loss, a failure, a deep uncertainty. Let your spiritual practice hold you. Let it remind you that you do not need to have all the answers. You only need to take the next step. You only need to show up, to breathe, to trust. That is enough. That is always enough. Let go of the idea that you need to fix everything before you can be happy. Happiness is not waiting for the perfect moment. It is found in your willingness to be with what is, to meet yourself in the mess and say, I am here, I am enough, I am doing my best. That truth, spoken again and again, becomes your foundation. There will be setbacks. There will be moments when you fall back into fear, doubt, or despair, but your practice teaches you that falling is not failure. It is part of the process. What matters is not that you fall. What matters is that you rise, that you return to your breath, to your intention, to your truth. Again and again, you are not meant to walk this path alone. Spiritual practice also connects you with others, with the collective energy of healing and awakening. When you meditate, pray, or reflect, you join millions of others who are doing the same. You become part of something greater than yourself. That connection brings comfort. It reminds you that you are supported. Let your spiritual practice be your daily devotion, not a chore, but a sacred gift, a time each day where you meet yourself fully, where you listen to your heart, where you offer your worries to the universe and receive peace in return. This devotion builds resilience that no storm can destroy, because it comes from within. No one else can do your inner work for you. No one else can sit in stillness on your behalf, but the moment you choose to begin, the universe responds, support appears, clarity comes, healing begins, not because life becomes easier, but because you become stronger. You become aligned, you become awake, you are stronger than you know, you are wiser than you remember, and you are more resilient than you have ever been told. All of that lives within you right now. Not somewhere far away, but here, in your breath, in your presence, in your willingness to show up for yourself with love. So even when life is hard, even when you feel lost, keep returning to your practice. Keep lighting that inner candle. Keep trusting that every step you take toward your spirit is a step toward your peace. Resilience is not built in one great leap. It is built moment by moment, breath by breath, choice by choice. Let today be the day you begin again. Let it be the day you say yes to yourself, yes to healing, yes to joy, yes to presence, yes to the quiet, powerful resilience that grows from within. Let it rise in you now and carry you forward with grace. In the end, happiness is not a distant dream reserved for perfect days or perfect lives. It is a decision we make every single day, especially when life tests us the most. By choosing to be present, by knowing ourselves deeply,